We'll come back to the fact that we're talking politics and we're looking at Nigeria. What are the options open? The APC or the PDP? Is there any difference? Because at the end of the day, yes, do an introduction.
We've since been joined by Mr. Kazim Akinreti, who is a journalist. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Okay, we'll ask you the same question in just a minute. But in terms of the options that are there, people have often said that it is not down to the electorate what kind of candidate that they vote for, because it is what is presented on the day of the election that you will choose from. If you have the best mind, you will have no choice but to make a choice.
I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think Mr. Segun said, it was. I'm almost going to say that looking for change through the electoral process in Nigeria is, I don't want to say hopeless. Why I don't want to say hopeless is this. I'll give you one example. People have said, Nigerian police was bad, corrupt, this, that. We all know. But in the midst of that gloom, I'm not praising anybody. There's a lot wrong with the Nigerian police force up till now. In the midst of that gloom, somebody came up one day as Inspector General of Police and said, look, people have been saying roadblock, roadblock, roadblock. We are not going to have roadblocks again. They started sponsoring news propaganda. If you remove roadblock, Nigeria will collapse. There will be robbery every day. There will be this. It's been removed for some time now. And I don't think our situation is worse than, but there has been some improvement. At least you can travel freely without all this harassment and all that. So, in the midst of the gloom, there could be something that will happen, that like this one that I've just cited. So, that's why I don't want to use the word hopeless for democracy in Nigeria. The incumbency factor that he mentioned is so strong. Secondly, and why the incumbency factor is actually strong is because money. You get the money easily from government to corrupt the system, to buy votes, you have more money to spend than your opposition party and so on and so forth. So, but if you are looking at, a change will come in Nigeria, we'll go to election in 2015 and suddenly, we'll now somehow elect a messiah or somebody who will be able to. I doubt it. I doubt it. That's why I say Nigerians must use other method as they are using now.
Okay, let's ask Mr. Akinreti the same question. When you look at the two political parties that may be contesting the election, maybe without APGA, and we'll have three, or whatever number of political parties we end up with, 2015.
Labour Party.
Labour Party, they're not part of the coalition yet, and there's a possibility that they might be co-opted into it. But what difference will they make if we have two strong political parties contesting in 2015?
Well, thank you. I think basically we'll have a good choice to pick out of the two, and our democracy is going to be much more better and vibrant than it was before. For the first time, we are having a marriage of convenience, and globally, two-party systems have been the option. There are other political parties, but there are two dominant political parties that will jostle for power at the end of the day. It happens in Ghana. It's also happened in the UK and also in the US. And so what we are seeing now is that people have seen that, look, we just need to have a viable, option for the ruling party, and they are all coming together, sacrificing their individual interests. And the pack of people that are coming up, as we're seeing now, will be the one that will actually give the ruling party a run for their money. And that's why you can see that political equation is changing dramatically now. If you look at those parties that are coming together, you could have seen this kind of revolution we had in 1992 during the Babangida regime. But he did that through fiat. But you can see people are now coming voluntarily to come together and say, yes, we need to associate. We need to bring, all our cards on the table, and then we'll go on then and fight for power. I think that will really help us. If we can have a situation in which, like in Ghana, we have a ruling party that will be there after a while, they will go, the opposition party will also come up. I think it will be good for us. I don't want people to be, to lose hope and see, nothing will actually come of this deal. I think a lot will come. As a journalist, it's because we have been reporting all the while. People have been saying, oh, what option do we have? This ruling party is doing this. And they are saying they're going to rule for 60 years. And then they are now seeing that there's a viable option coming up. And if you see the stories we had as of yesterday in the media, is that quite a lot of those people from the ruling party are also looking forward to come and join that new APC. Of course, in the newsroom, we call them armored personnel carriers. And you all know what armored personnel carriers does. And so, for me, it's let's have a fresh air. What Babangida refused to do, couldn't achieve then, putting two-party system together by fear, people are naturally coming and flocking together and say, let's have two dominant parties that will slug it out next election. I think that is quite fine.
Okay, Mr. Femi Segun, I've got Bawanda Stanley on Twitter who says, I don't think the new merger of political parties, what are they doing, and it will not. He is a bit cynical and skeptical here. He's saying it will not work. All they want is power to share. What would you say to a number of Nigerians who will think that this is all about power sharing?
Well, I do not believe that the two parties at the opposite ends of the spectrum have anything to offer in terms of the emancipation of the common Nigerian. And why is that? One simple reason. There is a hunger for an inordinate hunger for power, because when you are in the center, you have it all. The winner takes all. The derivation formula that we have today and the sharing formula of the Nigerian finances ensures that whoever is at the center has it all. And that is why there is such an all-out battle to be in the center.
So what do we need to do?
We need to have a proper federation. We also need to have a situation where nationalism is put above self-interest. And there are two ways you can do that. First of all, you can ensure that Nigerians from any part of the nation feel as if they belong. And that means that that thing which has been used to ensure that there's division, divisiveness, and ethnic strife among Nigerians has to be removed from the Constitution. I'm talking about the federal character principle.
So this Constitution,
federal character principle and state of origin. Those are the things that put Nigeria on her knees before the International Committee of Nations. You have the United States of America, which is the youngest nation among the superpowers, just 200 years old, dominating the rest of the world. Nations that have been in existence for thousands of years. Why? Because they got it right from the very beginning. They de-emphasized where you belong to. They de-emphasized the divisiveness of origin. In the United States of America, you come from where you are born from. Your father, they've had governors and who are brothers. The last president, George W. Bush, and his brother Jeff Bush were governors in different states in America. What was his name? And Schwarzenegger was an immigrant from Austria. But how can that be possible in a Nigeria where even within the state in which you reside, you are discriminated against? You have a larger Ondo state breaking up, and suddenly everybody from Ekiti or from Ondo is asked to lead Ekiti government, and there's so much strife. These are the things that need to be removed, because when you remove that, and people no longer have to be corrupt in order to ensure, one, that their children who have done well are admitted into secondary school, that their children who have done well at university get everything that they're entitled to, can get jobs, and when they're in the federal civil service or state civil service, they get their promotions as at when due, that we field our first 11. Those things have to be put in place for Nigeria to move forward.
Mr. Segun, let me ask our lawyer here, Mr. Fusika, do you think the Constitution we have now stand any chance of standing us in good stead in terms of the change that it seems you're saying is imminent?
Well, I would, we can have, we can write laws, have a constitution, and but that does not necessarily mean
The one we have now,
I don't know.
will it? You
They're always
understand?
changing it.
Yes,
They are
but
still changing it.
is subject to changes, and it will continue to evolve. But the one we have as of today, I don't know what will happen tomorrow or when they come back to the National Assembly on Monday. But as of today, what we have as constitution, will it help in making sure that that change that you said is imminent in Nigeria, will it help in making sure it happens? Or do we need to change this constitution and begin to say that that's what is going to be the answer to our problems in Nigeria?
To change the constitution?
Yes. Is that the solution to our problem?
The constitution is a Republican constitution. Based on Republican principles.
But what Mr. Segun just
democracy,
mentioned now
about
is the issue
federalism.
of, yes, federalism, but what Mr. Segun alluded to is the fact that I cannot be from Ondo State and become the governor of Lagos State. I cannot be from Kano State and decide I want to be the governor in Akwa Ibom State, in spite of the
Even
fact
if you have lived there
if I've
all
lived there
your
all
life.
my life, and that's where I was born, and that's where my father was born, but his great-grandfather
No,
is
that's
from
even taking
Kano
it too
State.
far. That's, I would say, maybe you even say it's over ambition. If you say you want to be governor, you've worked in the state as a civil servant for so many years. And this, we see it every day. Civil servant for so many years, you pay your tax in the state, you virtually live your entire life in the state, and you're working for the state. But then they tell you there are certain positions you cannot. And we're not talking about, even when you're talking of ethnic whatever now, that we're not talking about maybe Igbo in Lagos or Hausa in Lagos. You're talking of Yoruba in Lagos. They may even be ruled by the same party, Osun and Lagos. You understand?
But
yet you cannot.
So, do we need to change our constitution?
It's
then?
not a constitutional matter. It's something to do with our mentality.
So how
Whether
do
you
we do the
legislate it, you put
reorientation?
it in the constitution and all that, does not necessarily mean that it will be
will take
accepted.
effect.
So it has to do with the way we educate ourselves.
I beg
Maybe
to
this-
differ.
okay.
I beg to differ. I think we need to look at the larger picture. The larger picture indicates that it is going into enclaves and ethnic identities and jingoism is a factor of being deprived from the income or the resources at the center, and it is a matter of this the way we operate our federalism. If our federalism had been operated in such a way that the power at the center, power was decentralized, and we were like it was when we had the regions, you will not have a situation where people will be fighting for the national cake, as it were. And which is why, if Mr. A did not have to, was not fighting for what Mr. B is producing, Mr. B would not be defending his territory with such.
Okay,
Well,
let's ask Mr. Akireti, what's your own thought on this?
Honestly, well, in democracy, there's what we call popular participation. In the issues we're even talking about, constitutional changes and the rest, people will still have to do it. And those that are going to do it, that are best to do it, are those that are elected. And
Fairly elected.
well, it's a matter of nomenclature, fairly or not fairly, but they are there. And that's more reason why everybody will need to participate in the process.
I'm sorry.
I'll give an example
A
of
person
federalism
who is
issue.
put in an electoral
political
position
party,
because he's close to the chairman or the leader of the party has allegiance and obedience to that person, is unable to expound his theories or even his influence in the interest of the common man. That is why I insist that fairly elected people are answerable to the populace. Unfairly appointed people are not answerable, and that is one of the banes of our political system today.
We are going to really get there. The major problem with us is that we're always in a hurry to do things and get things together. When people are saying that this, for example, this merger will not work, I was just laughing at them. When it works, they will see. One of the
We should be in a hurry. Malaysia. This is a discussion.
Yeah.
Malaysia.
Mr.
Yes,
Segun,
I just want to
I'd like you
contextualize.
to finish what he's saying.
You see,
because it
one
seems
of
to
the
make
political
you-
parties in this merger has one of the trust of that political party is through federalism. and they call their representatives together, perhaps ACA, before they leave for Abuja. That look, pursue true federalism for us, pursue integration, and you can see that it's permeating within that system in the southwest, except only Ondo where you have Labour Party. But you can also see that Labour Party, the matter is there. It's just a matter of party. His own body and soul is more with the progressives. And so, if this party that is now coming together, they are now telling others to come and join them, now believes that this true federalism, we are going to push it to the logical conclusion. That will be fine. You see, the changes we are expecting from the constitution will also come back. And you can also see that another thing is that...
Sorry, what's the definition of this true federalism that you mentioned?
Well, part of what they are saying is they are talking about derivation. That's part of true federalism that the party is talking about.
Okay.
And it's so glaring. And that is exactly what they are
more
doing.
Money to share, to have for your state.
It's have more money for your state. Is that where the resources is coming from, let them enjoy the proceeds of that. That is why it's Lagos is saying, for VAT, we are generating so much and so much. Why must we take the whole lot to Abuja? Whereas you can use it to develop part of our infrastructure in the state. And the party, because it's not in power, couldn't just make, that thing is not making meanings to them.
Is that to the benefit of Osun?
Well, do they
to a large
VAT there?
extent, if the VAT is being generated
it's spent generously to everyone, but the
goes
party is
to
saying in
the
Lagos, where we have the island,
that we
let us get this
federalism
together.
from.
Yes.
America,
Yes.
the American system
Yeah.
allows each state
Yeah.
to develop at its own pace.
Yeah.
I cannot be a citizen of New York State
Yeah.
and go and buy stuff in Boston.
But do you know the evolution?
Because
the evolution those people, America has gone through.
The Americans.
We always
no,
like
no,
to
no, no.
cite them
I'm
as
sorry.
example.
I'm sorry. America is only 200 years old.
But how long is that? How many years in Nigeria? Just 100 years.
We
are too much.
100.
No.
Let
I'm
us build.
sorry.
Let us build this system.
I'm sorry.
As a journalist, that's what my
we did not have the. We did not need to start from scratch.
We were.
We were colonized. I'm sorry.
Yes.
We were colonized. We were given the technology.
Yes.
We had everything that those nations that colonized us had.
Yeah.
And at independence in 1960, there were several other nations that were at the same level with us. Look at the Asian tigers. Look at Malaysia. Look at all those other nations. We were all in the same place. Excuse me, but today, I'm sorry, we need to tell ourselves the truth.
Yes.
Stop saying we are too much in a hurry. We are actually slow.
Yes.
We are laggards.
Yeah.
We are an embarrassment to Africa. Excuse me. We
To
cannot
ourselves.
keep calling ourselves
Yeah.
the Afghans of Africa.
Well,
we are on our knees.
accept
I'm
that.
sorry.
Yes.
We need to look. I did some research last night
Yes.
when I was called to come on this program.
Yeah.
I went through the world and I
Yes.
looked at nations that had our own similar
Yeah.
development. I looked at India. I looked at Greater India. I looked at Uganda.
Yeah.
I looked at Sudan, and I looked at Haiti and Liberia. And if you look
What
at
are the common denominations
if you-
of this country?
Yes, if you look
What
at
are the common denominators of those
excuse
countries
me,
you've mentioned?
all those nations
Yes.
are nations where one
Uh-huh.
they were nations which were colonized by the by
No, I'm
the
talking
colonial
about
powers. I'm
demography.
sorry,
Yeah.
they were colonized.
Yes.
They were nations that have large demographical figures like we do.
Yeah.
They are nations that have the ethnic and the
Mix of also.
I won't say, I don't want to use
They
the word
don't have the
tribal.
same- they don't have the
excuse
same
me,
ethnic
but
composition
they were
like Nigeria.
nations that had religious homogeneity,
Yes.
cultural
Do
homogeneity,
we have it in Nigeria?
cultural homogeneity,
Yeah.
and the
We don't have those
and
in
excuse
Nigeria.
me, and there are
Yes.
nations that also had the intervention of foreign powers.
Yes.